Hey everybody, it's Kyle, also known as the Panda Man, back with another episode I should say, thinking of my newsletter, of unlocking your inner strength, moving along, sitting outside on this beautiful day. Got some cool stuff to go over today. And we had a good weekend, busy weekend. I think Brax wound up playing he wound up playing in 8 games. He hustles, man. He plays tough. So that's all you can ask, right? We got to work on some skill development in all the sports. But he gives us everything. He's out there. He's hustling. He's got a motor. And that's great because that's not necessarily something you can teach. Had a nice cheat day yesterday. This is the final week of my fat shredder protocol, and I'm beyond pleased with the results that I've personally gotten. So I'll go back and write about that in my fat shredder manual. And then there's the blueprint, right? The blueprint is laid down. You know, how much fat can you actually lose in 6 weeks? Well, turns out a lot. You can lose a lot. Now today, kind of random different topics came to my mind that I wanted to go over, and I will finish with some fasting insights. Hold on, the wind's going crazy. I'll finish with some fasting insights that seem obvious to me, but I know that they're not obvious to everybody. I want to talk about words first. People do not understand the power of words or the meaning of words. So let me give you a couple quick examples, and take this and start paying attention to how you speak. Listen to how others speak. If you look at the word patterns, then you look at the word paternal, right? The father. If you're a father, you're the paternal influence. You're the patriarch. You're the one that's supposed to set patterns for your family. Let's look at the word understand. That's a submissive term. And I heard this twice last week. I'm like, all right, how did I hear about this from 2 different people? My coach, Matt, and something I was listening to on a YouTube video. Understand. You're underneath. How about saying, I got it. I comprehend. That makes sense to me. Words can put a spell on you. Now, this sounds far out to a lot of people, but they're very powerful. Thoughts, words, and action is how you create anything. How about pay attention? Pay attention. How about invest your attention? That ties into something I've been saying about time for a long time. Think about gonna waste time, spend my time, gonna kill some time. Time is arguably the most valuable thing that you have, because it's the only thing you can't get back. Be mindful of when you say, I got time to kill. No, you don't. Invest your time in certain things. So think about the words that you use and the meanings of where these words come from. So words have meanings, right? And then also, where did the word come from? I use decision a lot with the panda. I'm taking people through that. Part of the reason I chose the panda was the black or white aspect. And being the word decision is so powerful. It comes from a Latin word, desire, which means to sever, to cut off. It's black or white. If you leave the gray area open, you're going to waste a tremendous amount of headspace and willpower. You're going to burn out, and then you will not succeed. Words are powerful. Now let's look at some cool things with conspiracies. I think it's cool that I have this one guy the trolls are good, right? Because they give me content, and it lets me know that I'm doing things right. That I'm speaking, and I'm being authentic, speaking my truth. It doesn't matter if people agree with me. Just like it doesn't matter if people agree with you. But too many people are scared to have a different opinion about things. So this one troll last week hit me up about fasting stuff. Same guy that I think it was last year I did a chemtrail video, I did something on fluoride. That's a conspiracy. Now it's the government is openly talking about it, just like the chemtrails. So guess what? They are conspiracies, but not conspiracy theories. They're public knowledge now. Anyhow, one of my clients, Roscoe, sent me some real Bigfoot hair. Now, I got to get it tested. Sent me the latitude, longitude, the photo. There was a great footprint, Bigfoot track where he was hiking in the winter. Of course, it could be fake, but it could be real. So I got to send that to the right person. Now, a book I'm reading, which is fascinating, Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. This is the cool thing when you have a curious mind, or when you start going down the rabbit hole of conspiracies. It leads you to the next one. It leads you to the next one. To your discovering stuff that's like, man, this is fascinating. I never would have thought of this. So that's how I came across this guy. Wanted to start with, a couple minutes on the conspiracies. First of all, look at the calendar. It doesn't make any sense that there's 12 months. If you had 13 months, each month would be 28 days, and you have 1 day left over for the new year or for the day that Christ rose. This is the way it originally was. If it was 28 days per month, that aligns exactly with the woman's menstrual cycle. If you look at the word, you look at the current months that we have. September. Sept means 7. Except September for us is the 9th month. October. Oct means 8, but that's our 10th month. November. Right, that's our 11th month. Nueve is 9. December, Deca, is 10, but that's our 12th month. So there's different theories out there as far as, got a tick on me. Let me kill that guy. There's different theories out there on what was the 13th month. Well, I've heard Uni December. I heard Sol. And then the first month, and it makes sense when you look at the seasons, is actually the new year is supposed to be April 1st. Close to when Christ rose from the dead. But then you look at everything's blooming. Why would this not be the part of the new year? Why would it be in the middle of the winter? Does that make any sense when you actually start looking at it? So some stuff that I pulled from this book that aligns with that. Many great minds believe the Vatican and their friends, the Jesuits, also known as the Society of Jesus, added approximately 800 years to our timeline prior to the last reset in 1776. Now, I've heard Cliff Hyde talk about this, how the history we've been told is a complete lie. And that really resonates with me now, right? If you don't buy into what you were taught, and it's not that the teachers are lying to you, it's just they're repeating what they've been told. If you look at Graham Hancock's special on Netflix, right? There's no doubt there were more advanced civilizations, I think even way more advanced than us here prior. Why has that been hidden to us? Well, it's called the old world. But if we continue to look, Albert Einstein shared the belief that at least 800 years have been added to our timeline, and shared the view that the Dark Ages never existed. So that's Einstein. Let's see what else I got for you. Hegelian dialect. This is when they really just give us two things, right? So think of politics, left, right. So you're going to argue, right? But what if there's a third option with anything? What if there's multiple other options, but they want to keep you just arguing? It's either this or that. And I don't think it's just this or that. I think that's just to confuse people. It's Hegelian dialect. So the introduction of the Gregorian calendar in 1582 AD is a large piece of the puzzle. Pope Gregory XIII decided to replace the previous Julian calendar to correct leap years and to ensure that Easter didn't drift too far away from the date it is said Jesus died, being the 8th of April. Now, April Fool's Day, where does that come from? That was kind of like a term, like a conspiracy theorist. If you still believe, the carryover when this stuff switched, that's the New Year of Fool, to April Fool's Day, which is Devin's birthday, April 1st. Right? It was meant to make you seem stupid if you still wanted to follow the old calendar. So that's very interesting. Right? Stuff that most people are never going to think about. Here is a very interesting one. Hitler's actual birth father was Solomon Rothschild of the Rothschild family. His mom was a maid with the Rothschilds, and Hitler took his name from his stepfather, who his mom married. So that's very interesting. That goes down a whole rabbit hole. Now, if you look at Dresden, look up Dresden, Germany. They killed 400,000 people there in World War II. It was not a town that was integral to the war. It was mainly women and children, men that couldn't fight in the war. They bombed the living hell out of it. Destroyed everything there. Why? Were they potentially destroying stuff from the old world technology? Right? If you don't know what that is, you got to start looking into it because it's fascinating. Again, stuff that's been hidden from us. Some of these old structures. You believe something, like when I went to Florence for my brother's wedding, I'm looking around and something did not make sense to me. I'm looking around the beautiful buildings. I'm like, you're telling me they built this, whatever, within the past, 1,000, 1,500 years. They didn't have any power tools. They didn't have any advanced technology, but this is more beautiful and better and more solid than anything that's built today. It made no sense. But look up Dresden, Germany. So that takes you down there. Why would they destroy this, right? Why did some of these old cathedrals from the old world technology suddenly catch fire and burn? What are they trying to do? Now, here's some stuff that will blow your mind before I go on to fasting. Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller conspired to ban electric cars around 100 years ago. So people think electric cars are new. New York taxi companies were running modified electrobats from 1894. Originally designed and built by Philadelphia chemist Pedro Salmon and his partner Henry Morris. There was charging points all over the city. This is the late 1800s, guys. And the first speeding ticket was issued in 1899 when a taxi driver reached 12 miles an hour in one of them. Right? Then you got the 13 bloodlines that actually run the world. What else do I want to go over from here? Go look up the Tartarian Empire. Right? The Mongolian Empire was originally known as the Tartarian Empire. Tartaria is part of the old world. You can find some old maps that still have it. But everything has been erased from that. So supposedly Genghis Khan was actually the ruler of Tartaria. So it's just really fascinating, in my opinion anyway. If you look at, I'm going to give you one more thing with Tartaria. But you can look this up. Don't take my word for it. Or you can just stay stuck and never look into anything. But some of the old names, cities. New York City was originally called, you find really old maps, New Amsterdam. San Francisco was Yerba Buena. Right? And he goes on to, there was like, I just don't believe anything we've been told about history. But that makes sense, the way my mind works, right? And that makes sense why I dove headfirst into things like fasting, right? The mainstream legacy establishment's telling you to do this. Well, that's probably not the right way. What's an alternative? Then I started examining, testing, and doing it and saying, well, found a truth. And I tell clients when they start my program just on the fasting alone, which is different than the nutrition, that's a separate piece, it's going to open your mind, like you're going to be able to see through the matrix. You're going to be able to escape the matrix. So as far as fasting, so I had some conversations recently. Clogging the pipes. When you eat, it essentially will take 2.5 days to get that food all the way through the system. Now, if you're constantly eating like most people, 3, 4, 5 times a day, you're rotting from the inside out. Because I have people that'll have to do a 5-day fast or whatnot, and they're still crapping. I don't understand. How am I still crapping? Where's it come from? Well, it's stuck inside of you. We know the root cause of every disease known to mankind is insulin resistance. But why is it insulin resistance? Well, that's really just tied to you have all this toxemia and this stuff that is putrefying and wasting in your colon because you're not allowing it to pass through you because you're constantly clogging the pipes. So that makes sense, right? When you actually think of it like that. when these people, let's count your macros and count your calories, it is just such a dumb, it's just stupid. It is so stupid once you see through it. That is ridiculous to think that you are going to transform your health by counting your calories. And the calories are such a stupid thing too, because if you look at most labels, and I have books that cite research on this, those are ballparks. So you might have one package of whatever, let's just use a candy bar or a protein bar. Well, it only has to be within a certain range, right? So you might eat a protein bar one day that's supposed to be 100 calories, but it's got 120. Next day you have it's supposed to be 100 calories, it's got 80. So you're all over the place already. And to think that you could control it through that, besides physiologically, it doesn't make any sense. And again, I always ask these guys, show me a client of yours that's stuck with their transformation from counting calories for over 2 years. And how many clients did you have? Did 1 out of the 100 succeed? I don't like those odds. Now, rational fasting, Arnold Earhart, I think his name was. I have a few of his books, Mucusless Healing System. So mucus ties right into just clogging the mechanism too much. Part of the reason why fruit is so good, it expels mucus. Like doing a fruit diet is very, very good for your health. But I've had professional athletes go through my program. I've had very high level people that track everything. And they're always shocked to see, especially when we're doing like a 48, getting to that rhythm, 1 meal a day, that their performance improves. So it doesn't make sense. I thought I'd get my energy from my workouts, from my food. No, you don't. The glycogen's already stocked. Now, what Dr. Earhart talked about was the vitality of the body. Vitality equals air pressure minus the obstruction. The obstruction is food stuff that's still in your system. So you'll see if you do breathing exercises. I've seen this with cold water therapy. My tolerance is much higher when I'm deeper into a fast. But why would performance improve? Because there's more oxygenation within the blood. It's less obstructed. So just other reasons that you have to look at this lifestyle. So I know that was kind of all over the place today, but got a lot of different things on my mind. Going to go write some stuff. I got my upcoming Rip Dads online. So really excited about that. Got to write more for that. Got to write today's email, the newsletter. So right. Thanks for the support, guys. Always appreciate you. If you have questions, just shoot them to me. If you need help, reach out to me. Set up a call. See if you're a good fit for any of the programs that I do. That's what I'm here for. I'm a coach. Comes from the term stagecoach. We'll finish with that. Words. That's literally where the term comes from. Somebody that's designed to get you from point A to point B, a spot that you've been having trouble getting to on your own. Later, guys.